start. Good afternoon, everyone, to this last session of this afternoon before the award ceremony. So this means that we have to close. We have to close at 4:15. That's our deadline. And let me introduce you the subject and the panelists for this enterprise 5G, 6G, and cybersecurity at the forefront. So the title is very emphatic, but in short, we will try to enlarge the subject previously discussed in the previous session, covering even the mobile services, covering other aspects, enlarging to cybersecurity, partnership, and architecture, if we succeed. Let me 2 words for introducing myself. I am Alessandro Forcina. I am a partner of Cambridge Management Consulting, a UK-based consultancy boutique present in 18 countries worldwide. I personally have a quite long experience in the telecom world, in the international wholesaler, and a very long experience in the specification standardization bodies. I'd like to start introducing my friends, the people who will join me. Let's start with Roy. Roy, again, thanks for the early wake up and late for the few hours you slept. Please introduce yourself, Roy.
Okay, thank you, Alessandro. Hi, I'm Roy Chua. I am a principal at AbbotThink. We are a research and analysis company focused on infrastructure technologies. We work with a wide range of clients, from hyperscalers to tier 1 service providers, to the independent software vendors and the network equipment providers. A lot of it is telco focused, but fundamentally infrastructure technologies, including security.
Thank you, Roy. Igor, after you.
Hi, my name is Igor Skutsinya. I'm a senior business development manager at Lang Telecom. We're a large transit operator in terms of voice and SMS, which terminate more than 4 billion of SMS every year, more than 4 billion of minutes every year. And we are now venturing in the technology world with our RCS solutions being developed and our anti-fraud solutions as well.
This doesn't work, so Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Milan Brzezina, and I serve as the head of delivery at SecurityGen. We deal with cybersecurity solutions, mainly for the mobile operators or the other companies who simply work with all kind of mobile generations very quickly.
Thank you, Milan. Max, it's up to you.
My name is Max Röttgermann. I'm working for Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, and I'm a senior product manager for IP Transit and DDoS Defense. So I'm looking after protecting networks mainly against DDoS attacks, and also we provide as Global Carrier the interconnectivity for our end user base at Deutsche Telekom, but also for a large number of customers being a tier 1 provider.
Thank you, Max. So we have a representative of the most important European telco from the security side, from the wholesale side, and CEO of a research company. So I hope to meet our expectation, our targets. And as I said, the basic target of this session is to enlarge what discussed earlier. What does it mean to enlarge? To try to identify which are the basic technologies an enterprise has to consider moving towards a digital transformation, moving towards flexible services. I think it's unquestionable the success of the data center, and it's unquestionable the move to the edge. It's unquestionable the threat, the increasing threat in terms in the cyberspace. It's unquestionable that the services should be flexible. So I'd like to invite Roy to discuss with us which are the basic technologies an enterprise has to consider in this evolving scenario?
Sure. So I think, from an enterprise perspective, fundamentally, a lot of it, we're going to talk about the connectivity element. I think, one of the general trends we are seeing for enterprises is the need to connect their users just about everywhere, the assets and resources everywhere as well. And so generally speaking, at the connectivity level, or sometimes what we call the underlay or physical level, there's a mix of different technologies. Obviously, you have your fixed wireline, which increasingly is just mostly fiber for the most part throughout the world, but also wireless, and wireless in the form of mobile devices and 5G, 4G LTE, still a lot of the world, and 3G in many, many markets still, but also fixed wireless access in place or in complement with fiber or wireline connectivity. In some situations, in some regions, we're also seeing increased use of satellite connectivity across multiple enterprise locations. And so what we're seeing connectivity technology-wise, multiple access methods to multiple locations, especially with work from home and hybrid work. Above that, we're seeing a mix of security approaches, some overlay technologies for reliability and performance like SD-WAN, but they also come with a flavor of security. And so we're seeing SD-WAN, software-defined wide area networks, as well as SASE, which I'm not going to define. I presume that was done earlier in some session, but happy to do so as well, which is an aggregation of all the historical enterprise edge security services bundled under one common umbrella. So hopefully that helps, and happy to go into detail across any of those elements.
Thank you, Roy, for having presented shortly some technologies, especially in the access. Igor, your perspective from your company.
Our perspective is a little different because we have a very different business model. So being a wholesale aggregator, the transit carrier that is already interconnected with our clients in terms of voice, in terms of SMS, and we're already working with our traffic, we already know their pains, we already know their needs and requirements, not only as them as the client, but also we understand what is needed as a member of the industry. We are the strictest critique of our anti-fraud solutions and our tech solutions. So what we saw is the access is very much an overlooked point. And we understood that already being a service provider, already being interconnected on so many levels to our enterprise clients and wholesale clients, we can just create the solution, keep it on our premises, and just provide it along with the usual connectivity in voice and SMS. So there's no necessity for integration. There's no necessity for any maintenance budget resources allocated at the partners, because we're providing our security solutions as an added value at no cost, at no hassle to the partners. And this is one of the things where we relieve the enterprises the need to actually become the experts in security, et cetera, because we maintain our expertise and we provide it with the same connectivity that we already have. So this
Thank you. Milan, cybersecurity from your perspective in a security company.
I would continue what Roy said, that with complexity and ever developing services, you get multiple points, and with multiple points is connected also the large scale for the threats, which means it doesn't have to, we cannot simply look at the single point of security. We need to consider all the angles. And I think Roy said it, with the fact that these new technologies are extremely and rapidly placed into the market. Maybe they are not secured, not by design, by maybe by lack of time of this. And our company, what we try to do is to focus on every angle which is possible and provide the customer the solution. So to summarize that, the benefit is clear. Definitely, we rely on flexibility. We would like to have great solutions, but we don't have to forget to secure all the doors.
Thank you, Milan. And the perspective, the opinion of the most important European telco, Max?
So our claim is we don't stop until everybody is connected. And I think that's reflects an important point. So the connectivity, as Roy pointed out, is very, very important. Everybody needs to speak to everybody these days, and everybody wants to be online all the time. And this importance was pointed out in the pandemic to the highest level. Yeah, everybody was working from home, and everybody was relying on the infrastructure of the internet, from the access of the last mile to the aggregation networks, through the backbone of the providers, and importantly, to the interconnectivity between providers, between hyperscalers, between cloud providers. So this availability of this network is so important these days. And the availability is also the major and the key starting point for cybersecurity, not forgetting other important security elements, but the availability of the internet at any point in time is crucial to every user and also to every device nowadays.
I'd like to, cybersecurity has been mentioned, and I'd like to focus on this aspect. And again, to Milan, your opinion, if I consider the today landscape as a CISO should consider where to put my security features, on-prem or in the cloud. So there are architectural questions. And then there are questions, do I have to merge the network operating center with the security operating center? And to keep on as it is today with two different silos. And another question is, do I have the skill, my staff has the skill for face the continuous changes in the security landscape? So which is the security gent position on this?
Thank you for this question. First of all, I wanted to ask Max how he sees the trend of maybe attacks during the COVID, but we can keep it for later. If I were them, I think first point is about the budget. Of course, this affects everything, but in general, I would never merge network operating center with a security operating center, definitely. Secondly,
Why?
I think these two roles should remain separate, because we talk to the operators and we see that if they don't have skills, they don't have people to maybe introduce more teams, more skilled teams. So definitely they save resources. Then they merge these two teams in belief they will be the same power as they are split. But I don't think it is the right way. Secondary, I would build my own team, train them, and make something which is called Blue Team. And after some time, I would really invite some third-party vendor to let my Blue Team be challenged. And only then we can say my Blue Team is educated enough so they can provide the best service I wish, from my point of view. And regarding if it is private or public data centers, I am a great believer, or maybe our company, that the hybrid model is the best. I think not exactly in this industry, but in general. I am not a fan of the single solutions. I always think that it's better to have combination of the best, and this is the hybrid model. Something should remain in-house, definitely. This is the critical assets of my company, something can be placed into the cloud. But as I said at the very beginning, all is about the company decision and also about the budget.
Thank you, Igor. So very clear statement in terms of SOC versus NOC, in terms of on-prem versus in the cloud. Max, he asked, Milan asked for the Deutsche Telekom opinion on this.
So at the very beginning of the pandemic, almost 3 years ago, the first couple of days were very quiet from the cybersecurity perspective, from the attacks I'm personally looking after. And then it became more important, there became more and more attacks, but let's say the recent weeks or months became even more challenging. So the scope changed there. And you see a lot of these political activities nowadays where the press is full, especially on DDoS, which is in the press from time to time, but not every day. But there have been known attacks to hyperscalers, to large newspapers in the past few days. So I guess that's an overall trend, I would say. So we're not getting bored in the cybersecurity field. But also answering your question, NOC versus SOC, I think my product is right on the edge between being a network product or a security product. Doing this for more than a decade, I had many customer discussions, and I had, let's say, the people from large, well-known brands and enterprises really fighting in front of me in calls and in customer meetings. This is my job. This is your job. This is my job. This is your job.
Surprise.
So
Everywhere.
So and also doing things on-prem or doing things in the cloud. So there, for all of these, there's no right and wrong. It has to be adapted to the organization. However, what I always know that a good network guy is usually not the best security guy, and a very well or very good security engineer is typically, let's say his background is usually not from the networking side. So it depends very much on the team and the organization. If it's a smaller or mid-sized company that has staff that is, let's say, able, or personnel that is able to cover both sides, and it's feasible with the organization, why not? If it's a large enterprise that has, I don't know, hundreds of firewalls to be run, maybe it's not the best to put it into the network the network operation center into the security operation center. So that's is a very tricky question. And the same one with cloud versus on-prem. I think this comes more with the scalability of a company. So a smaller company might go for cloud in the beginning, then have it and this is also what you can see sometimes, then have a transition to on-prem. And then when it gets really large, it has very often more and more cloud elements. However, what you never should underestimate is the cost that come with certain cloud products and the dependency of the internet link. So this is a fact that is very, very often neglected. So putting everything in the cloud, putting files in the cloud, putting data in the cloud, using all the collaboration tool, and then being attacked by a very, very simple DDoS attack. And then you have your staff there sitting along for the duration of the attack and being able to work on nothing. Yeah, so that's a crucial element there.
Thank you, Max. Igor from Blank.
Yes, so we used to have an OC that basically taking care of all the risks that are coming with the quality of traffic, and fraud being one of the factors that were severely affecting the quality of traffic and the quality of service that we provide, up until the moment when we when the tech that was AI based and is AI based got to the scale where it required a separate team, separate management, separate task force, separate budget, separate processes of developing and maintaining this as a product and the internal service, then just a part of all the NOC procedures. This is when the SOC became kind of a separate entity, and it's exactly what Max just said, it goes with the growth. I mean, we used to be a lot smaller 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when these functions were one. But now that we have more than 300 people employed, we can devote a task force to this and task force to this, and they have a lot in common. They obviously do a lot of information sharing because NOC is doing a lot of analytical procedures on the traffic in general, just to understand how to improve the quality. What are the fraud signals that could be discovered afterwards, after the client complained, et cetera, But SOC right now is basically an IT company, so to speak, because they are maintaining the AI, they are maintaining all the databases and all the information that AI is working with, and that's exactly what is going on. So it was a natural process to divide those two.
Thank you, Igor. Roy, to you, the closing this security aspects.
So I think, yeah, absolutely. I think fundamentally, I think all the presenters, all my fellow panelists said appropriate things with regard to the decision making. It depends, right? It's always the answer. It depends on the organization. It depends on your abilities and your needs, and fundamentally it does. So we do work with CIOs and CISOs, and unfortunately, very often it comes down to budget being that top element that you have to work under, and under the umbrella of that budget is the allocation of resources a problem in terms of mitigating the risk that you believe as an organization that you face. What's the best allocation of resources, and what's the level of specialization you need in those resources? And so to the extent that you have the ability to recruit, retain, and you can get an ROI and it makes sense, then you bring it in-house. To the extent that you cannot, and it's not super specialized to you or unique to you as an enterprise, then you can outsource. And so what we see, generally speaking, across a lot of enterprises, big and small, is a mix of using in-house resources, external resources, on-premises capabilities, cloud-based capabilities, in order to meet their security needs. And I would say, with regard to the NOC and SOC, when you get big enough, usually, and you have unique needs, then specialization usually creates separate organizations. But I would also say that a lot of the organizations in the US I work with, even for larger scale organizations, they will have some generalists that can run both NOC, SOC, outsource a lot of the security stuff because they have a difficulty in attracting and retaining. So even if they want to run a SOC, sometimes it's hard to attract and retain the talent, and it's so specialized that the SOC becomes outsourced, and they just maintain a smaller team in-house that's more generalist than specialist, is what we see.
Thank you, Roy. I think there is a general remark we can summarize from this discussion, even from the previous session. The general remark is the relationship between the stakeholders, the various actors are more complex than in the past. So, and this means that the business models are not as they were in the past. The vendor sells the boxes to the service provider, who sells the service to the enterprise. I think in very, very few cases this happens. In the 2023 world, there are a huge number of different alternatives. Just before we discuss, Cato is a service provider or is a vendor. The major telcos has a SASE offering together with a security provider. I can keep on for a number of cases. So in short, the role of partnership and alternative business model is increasing, let's say, month by month. So to Igor, Lang Telecom, how is playing on this, let me say, complex world in terms of relationship, business?
Yes, I think this changes, this shift of define roles to kind of blur lines between those is actually very much playing in our advantage. We understand that in many cases, when you're a solution vendor, it's very hard to break that ice into actually setting up the POC, actually becoming a certified partner, actually providing technology, integrating, et cetera, et cetera. And in this case, where we have this technology that we can basically lend to everyone who is already interconnected with us on voice and SMS, it's been very, very beneficial. We understand that it's just a very, very easy way for them to actually assess the value without giving any prognosis, without giving any external references. We can actually show the performance of the products that we do on the very live case. And we are also, being the most prominent user of our tech, we benefit the most from the highest quality. So we are on everyday basis, we're interested in making sure that our tech is top tier. And we're very glad that we have this easy entrance to all the external partners. And another thing that could be considered is that whenever the clients would like to switch over to the standalone version or cloud installation somewhere, or somehow to not to only work with the traffic that is terminated to us, then they already realize the value. They already have their teams trained. They already read the manual several times, and they already have the direct connectivity with our help desk. So it's kind of a very, very easy choice for them if this is the technology that they're after, if they're looking for something that is specifically could be taken care of by our tech. Although we understand that the risks are multiplying, sadly. We are encountering risks that weren't here 2 years ago, 4 years ago, for example, the AIT and messaging. And we understand that it's not just voice and messaging where dangers, there's more and more of them. And we understand that we must seek external partnerships with solution vendors, with other companies that are not processing traffic, to make sure we fit the requirements of a partner. I mean, we're participating this year, next year, and last year in the bids for the security solutions. And one of the requirements that we see is that, well, what kind of security you have for a data channel. And since we are voice and SMS, we obviously don't have ready solution. We understand that there's need to adapt even more. We need to team up with solution vendor that is specifying in the risk that we don't cover. And this is how we're gonna move forward with this.
Roy, you live in the Silicon Valley, and so where the money and where the ideas come from. So from your perspective, these changes in business model, relationship, how you can comment about it?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, as Igor indicated, is there's an increasing number of partnerships that have to be formed across a lot more organizations in order to bring a comprehensive solution. If we're looking at the sort of attack surface and talking about cybersecurity, the number of attacks, the range of attacks, the creativity of those attacks are increasing, coming in. And so on the other side, it's very hard to have any organization that can deal with all of them, on their own. And so what we're seeing is a lot of partnership, convergence on the platforms, licensing of technologies, and by the different people that offer the platform. So on the cloud side, even cloud providers are licensing, developing their own by using third-party and ISV solutions on their platforms. Telecom service providers, absolutely, communication service providers, they're aggregating a lot of the security technologies and making them available on fixed line and mobile platforms as well. And so what we're seeing is it's new skill set required in terms of being able to pick the right partners to work with, because generally speaking, it's going to be partners. There'll be some that you develop in-house, but a lot of it's going to be partnerships. And so the skills about picking the right ones, about organizing, orchestrating those, automating those, and then from an enterprise perspective is on the other side, as a consumer, they're becoming more critical, more careful, smarter about as a buyer from a CISO standpoint, and asking for more advanced things like policies, controls, auditability, shared controls. They're digging into the whole software supply chain and trying to understand where these components come from. So we're seeing increased sophistication in terms of solution selection, solution auditing, and then solution management as well in this complex ecosystem.
Milan, in your security domain,
I would start with words. My CEO always says, build partnership. And this is a great opportunity to say the nice example, because we know the question, we have a solution, and we need to ask for the reasons why it is like this. And let me use an example. For example, 5, 6 years ago, there were, for example, small projects. Now the complexity grows. Deutsche Telekom fires great RFP project. And right now we know that we do our best, we have expertise, but without Lang Telecom, we cannot win this project because we need to make a partnership. And this is across the entire, how to say, it's becoming nature that you do your best, and if you need, I know that I can count on him. Next time when he leads the project, he can count on me. Something like this.
Max, yeah.
Let me add the more academic business model discussion as a viewpoint. So in the past, it was very much on geographic reach rather than technology. Yeah, so you would need to have a network that is represented in X% of the 200 countries in the world, and if your coverage was the best compared with the price, then you was most probably the winner. Now you need to add another element to that, which is the technology that the customer, which is on vogue or the customer is demanding. This is very much or very often vendor driven. Yeah, so in the past, normally the customer doesn't care what kind of router we put into our network to run our backbone. Yeah, but when it comes then to add on connectivity security solutions, sometimes customers have a preference. So then the question is, do you have the right partner for that? Yeah, so this means you also have to have a multi-vendor strategy that adds a lot of complexity to the company, because you need to consult, yeah, which for that specific reason is the best, by not running just behind the wish of the customer. Yeah, and in the past you had, when you talk about business models, you had this input-output model, and in the middle there was a value transformation. And then people realized, okay, you need to have an element that reflects the, I need to make money. Yeah, so that's when the revenue model came in place of the discussion of business model and to understand how to make money. And this partnership element together with technology and together with, I need to build something by myself in many cases in order to keep margins to a level that you can live on. Yeah, because having a partnership, reselling a service from a partner is not a really sustainable business in the long run for the business model or the industry where we come from. Yeah, so you need to find the right balance between the coverage, the technology, the partners, and also the scope of customers where you're best at or regions where you're best at.
Thank you, Max. Before opening a different subject, is there any question from the audience on these topics we discussed so far? No. Okay. So the second part of the session is devoted to the mobile services. And mobile services in 2023 means 5G. So 5G means as of today, hundreds of millions of consumer customers. New radio has been deployed, slower than expected is a reality, whereas standalone 5G core. You know what does it mean, standalone 5G core? I mean, not the radio access network but the core of the network, the intelligence, is no more 4G, but is 5G. There are a number of modern trials in Europe, worldwide, in Korea, in the US. But the services for enterprises, 5G based, are still at the beginning. And what does it mean for enterprises? At the beginning of the session, discussing the connectivity, Roy mentioned the fixed wireless access, which is a reality, not everywhere, but it's a possibility. Then there is network slicing and private 5G networks, mentioned even earlier here in Berlin. Berg last year evaluated there are 300 private networks, and with a CAGR of 57%. So we go to 1,000 private networks. I read that Amazon Web Services has launched for mid-size enterprises private networks. So, Roy, again, from your perspective, the role of 5G, together with, of course, fixed wireless access, private network slicing for enterprises, what you can comment on this?
Sure, absolutely. I'll leave. I wouldn't talk so much about the mobile 5G as connectivity, the public network. I think people understand what it brings to the consumer and to the general worker. It's a form of connectivity that reaches you everywhere. But from an enterprise perspective, I think it's an area of coverage for us, and we do work with some of the vendors in this space. And I think from an enterprise standpoint, they need to understand what value these can bring. And the first question we normally ask them is, are you doing this because it's cool, because it's hot, or are you doing this for a real business reason, right? Why do you need private? Are you looking for isolation for security, isolation for privacy, isolation for performance? Why do you think you need your own controls? What workloads are you trying to serve with this private or network slice? And do you understand the applications and the computing resources and how they were coupled to the network? Because there's many flavors. And as I think, as Alessandro pointed out, you can ask for a network slice from a public network, which is still an in-progress element. It's not very popular yet, not available yet in most of the world, but increasingly becoming available. Historically, you could get a private APN, which is sort of your private network on the mobile network. It's not necessarily that it's new. It was already there. It's just that you didn't have the performance characteristics and controls like you can get with 5G. And beyond network slicing, you can stand up your own private network or private 5G in your own locations. And so I think, first of all, need to understand why do you need private and what kind of controls do you need the private for. The second one is what the use cases are. What we're seeing private networks for, and I know you quoted a couple of hundred, there are a couple of thousand now actually in the world, depending on which region you're looking at for these private networks. A lot of them are still not very big. A lot of them are still early POCs, but the vast majority of them are industry 4.0 use cases for industrial workloads, transportation hubs, utility companies, shipping ports, mines, outdoor event facilities are what we see for these private networks. And those are driven by usually a need for control and isolation in terms of the ability to isolate the traffic from general traffic. A lot of those are performance, where they actually are in complement to Wi-Fi networks that cannot give you the coverage that you need in these places. And so I think it's a new technology. It's really cool. There is a strong uptake on the POC side in terms of sort of unlocking it in large production. I think we still see a matter of time before that fully unlocks.
Thank you, Roy. Max.
I'd like to take Roy's point on performance. Yeah, I think 5G, the general 5G use case is about performance, and the security of the performance means having a fixed network slice and therefore fixed performance. And this comes with latency and all these things. And I'll say, not about the question private or public, but also edge computing plays a big role there, where basically you put data processing capabilities very close to the device, to the end customer. So there's no need to run it through the aggregation network, through the backbone, and so on. It's right on the edge. Yeah. So we've typically in our network, we put it right at the core data centers for the mobile network. And this gives this real-time data processing power where you, in the device, for whatever reason, there is no or very limited data processing, yeah, because the device needs to be light, less power consume. And I think this is a great add-on to 5G in the very, very near future, I suppose.
Thank you, Max. Now there are 3 additional minutes before the deadline, and I'd like to ask to all of you in less than 1 minute what you see now. It's June 2023. In 12 months time, from your company, what is the most important advantage or service or technology you can offer to enterprises? Milan.
I wish there will be more private networks, especially what Roy and Max said. The reasons are clear. So if for whatever reason they decide, there should be in the market, because I think, especially if the edge computing is there, there is a bright future. And I'm looking forward to really see more enterprise doing their business.
From the security side, I fully agree with you. You're right. Igor.
I think the thing that we are introducing this year and in 12 months would be very much present in the market would be SMS fraud management system. The SMS is a growing business, and the challenges with artificial inflation of traffic / artificial generated traffic are very persistent, and there are not many technologies out there that can counter this. Our AI is specifically designed to counter it. And we think that this would be the service that many enterprises and our other traffic partners would be using.
Thank you, Igor. Roy?
Yeah, I think, in the next 12 months, actually, my hope, I'm seeing early versions of this, is that anytime we offer any kind of communication service, I mean, to add on to what Igor is, anytime you get a communication service, you get security offering along with it, from whomever you're getting it from, that's adequate. And whether it's IoT connectivity, whether it's voice or SMS, whether it's fixed wireline, whether it's 5G or fixed wireless access, my hope is that anyone who's offering these kinds of services has security on top of it. Not saying we need to SOC, but we need to converge the offerings so that connectivity, communications comes automatic with the level of security in there. And I think that's going to be critical for infrastructure going forward, given the world that we live in today.
Max, the last word.
Following the path of inline and inherent security in connectivity. So that means security is a built-in feature. It's not a built-in feature anymore. It's necessity. It's there, without being questioned.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. Is there any question for these panelists, for me, for carrier community, to carrier community? It doesn't seem the case. Eva, we are sharp 4:15. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to all of you. And let's go to the award ceremony. And Roy, you need a special thanks to you. WIDA should give you, Eva, please pass to WIDA the request, a special thanks to Roy.
You're welcome.
Night with us. Ciao.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Ciao. You're very welcome. Bye for now. Have a wonderful event.